Good evening and welcome to tonight's news bulletin, coming to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq receives a written message from His Excellency President of the Islamic Republic of Iran on aspects relating to existing cooperation between the two countries. Salalah Club secures His Majesty the Sultan's Cup for Youth for the year 2021. An agreement is signed to develop a petrochemical complex in the Special Economic Zone at Duqm Sizat. And rains of varied intensity continue to affect a number of governorates in the Sultanate of Oman. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq received a written message from His Excellency President Dr. Ibrahim Raisi of the Islamic Republic of Iran related to aspects of the existing cooperation between the two countries in various fields within the framework of the good bilateral relations that unite them. His Majesty the Sultan received the message when he gave an audience to His Excellency Dr. Hussein Amir Abdullahian, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran, at Al Baraka Palace today. During the audience, His Excellency the guest conveyed the greetings and wishes of His Excellency the Iranian President to His Majesty the Sultan for good health and happiness, and for Omani people further progress and prosperity. For his turn, His Majesty the Sultan asked the guest to convey his greetings to the Iranian President, wishing him good health, happiness, and Iranian people further progress and prosperity. The two sides discussed aspects of enhancing paths of joint cooperation between them. In addition, they exchanged views on the latest developments in the regional and international arenas. The audience was attended by His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister, His Excellency Ali Najafi, Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran, accredited to the Sultanate of Oman, and the delegation accompanying the guest. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq received a cabal of thanks from His Excellency President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China in reply to His Majesty's cabal of greetings on the occasion of his re-election as General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. In the cabal, His Excellency the President expressed his sincere thanks to His Majesty the Sultan for his greetings to him, stressing his keenness to develop strategic partnership relations to serve the two friendly countries and peoples, wishing His Majesty the Sultan good health and continued success. In line with the national initiatives to support youth and their activities, His Majesty's Cup for Youth for the season 2021 was awarded today. More details coming up in this report by Ahmed Al-Busaidi.
Efforts to support youth are always carried out nationwide here in the Sultanate of Oman. On this note, Salalah Club had the honor of winning His Majesty the Sultan's Cup for Youth of the season 2021.
We are proud to achieve this cup for the second season, and it means to us a lot to win the cup. Thank you, organizers, and looking forward to a bright future.
Runners-up was accomplished by Al Bashair Club, followed by Asib Club in third position, and Ibri Club came in the fourth place. The competition witnessed an amazing participation of 31 clubs who have competed at different sport and youth activities throughout the season.
We want to congratulate to Nadi Salalah to getting the cup, His Majesty Cup for the Youth for 2021. This cup started since 1998, and it's one of the programs that the Ministry of Culture and Sport and Youth to provide it to the clubs to make the clubs more motivated to help and support the young people.
It's worthwhile mentioning that His Majesty's Cup for Youth comes within a framework to build upon and develop efforts made by clubs to enrich youth as well as to perform their role at the highest possible standards. With me is His Majesty's Cup for the season 2021. This only comes to show support and encouragement for the youth. For Oman TV, Ahmed bin Hilal al-Busaidi, Muscat.
Thank you, Ahmed. His Excellency General Sultan bin Mohammed Al Nu'mani, Minister of the Royal Office, received His Excellency Hussein Amir Abdullahian, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran, who is currently visiting the Sultanate of Oman, and his accompanying delegation. During the meeting, cordial conversations were exchanged about a number of common areas of cooperation and ways to develop them in order to achieve the common interest of the two countries. The course of the historical relationship linking the Sultanate of Oman with the Islamic Republic of Iran was also reviewed, in addition to discussing a number of issues of concern to both sides. The meeting was attended by the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran accredited to the Sultanate of Oman and the delegation accompanying the guests. OQ SABIC and Kuwait Petroleum International signed an agreement to develop a jointly owned petrochemical complex in the Special Economic Zone at Duqm in the Sultanate of Oman. I was present at the event amid this report. OQ SABIC and Kuwait Petroleum International KPI have signed a project development agreement of a jointly owned petrochemical complex in the Special Economic Zone at Duqm. The three companies aim to establish a petrochemical complex consisting of a steam cracker and derivative units and a natural gas liquid NGL extraction facility. They will conduct the necessary studies and collaborate using their wealth of technical and commercial experience to develop the project with unique attributes that make it globally competitive and profitable for all three partners. The agreement was signed by Talal bin Hamid Al Aufi, OQ Group Chief Executive Officer, Abdul Rahman bin Saleh Al Faqih, Chief Executive Officer of SABIC, and Shafi Talib Al Ajmi, Chief Executive Officer of KPI. Petrochemicals demand is expected to continue its growth path as living standards and human development improve, particularly in growing markets close to Oman. The project intends to monetize natural gas liquid and other feedstocks from OQ and KPI's joint venture refinery. The project intends to deploy state-of-the-art technologies to minimize carbon footprints and incorporate circular economy aspects and commit to high environmental standards. This mega project would support region's development aspirations, maximizing socio-economic impacts, as well as value added to these companies OQ, KPI, and Sabika. OQ continues its strategy to help develop CZAD as manufacturing hub, in line with 2040 vision of the Sultanate. Abdullah bin Ahmed Al Rubai, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat. The Cultural Club launch celebrated its new logo and the announcements of its new cultural activities for the year 2023. During the ceremony, the Cultural Club announced the start of its new program, the Scholars Electronic Libraries and Vaults, that contains thousands of scanned manuscripts and books on the Sultanate of Oman and its civilizational and cultural achievements. The Cultural Club seeks through its various programs and activities to enrich the cultural literature by establishing cooperation ties with other stakeholders in the field of culture, both in the private and public sectors. The ceremony was held under the patronage of His Excellency Sheikh Abdul Malik bin Abdullah Al Khalili, Chairman of the State Council. His Excellency Sayyid Saud bin Hilal al-Busaidi, Governor of Muscat Straits, during the final meeting for Muscat Municipal Council this year, that the Council has important roles that should be activated through interactive platforms that engage citizens with the municipal councils and governorates in general. The Council in the Governorate of Muscat have secured positive results in the second term through completing numerous services projects in the wilayas of the Governorate. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and yet to come in our news bulletin. New York police is deployed to enforce a ban on driving in the snow-choked Buffalo. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television, and we begin our stories here for this time international one. A spokesman Dmitry Pozov today said that Ukraine's peace plan can only proceed from the assumption of Russia's sovereignty over the areas it annexed. There isn't any peace plan by Ukraine yet, Peskov told reporters when asked about Ukraine peace plan and its intention to hold a summit in February. Peskov added that there can't be any Ukrainian peace plan that fails to take into account today's realities regarding the Russian territory, the incorporation of the new 4 regions into Russia. Any plan that fails to acknowledge these realities can't be considered a peace plan. Commenting on Putin's decree banning oil exports to countries that support a $60 per barrel price cap that was declared by the European Union and group of 7 countries, Peskov noted that it's Russia's sovereign right to respond to such illegitimate and utterly absurd moves, such as the so-called price cap. He said that Russia has remained in touch with OPEC Plus on these and other issues, but didn't specifically discuss Putin's decree with the group before its signing. The Supreme Court is keeping pandemic-era limits on asylum in place for now, dashing hopes of migrants who have been fleeing violence and inequality in Latin America and elsewhere to reach the United States. In a newly built shelter in the context of the immigration crisis at Juarez in Mexico, some migrants want to wait further news. Others have decided to cross illegally into the U.S. Tuesday's ruling preserves a major Trump-era policy that was scheduled to expire under a judge order on December 21st. The case will be argued in February, and a stay imposed last week by Chief Justice John Roberts will remain in place until the justice make a decision. The limit was put in place under then President Donald Trump at the beginning of the pandemic. Under the restrictions, officials have expelled asylum seekers inside the United States 2.5 million times and turned away most people who requested asylum at the border on grounds on preventing the spread of COVID-19. They said the policy goes against America and international obligations to people fleeing to the U.S. to escape persecution. They've also argued that the policy is outdated as coronavirus treatments improve. A federal judge sided with them in November and set a December 21st deadline to end the policy. Conservative-leaning states appealed to the Supreme Court, warning that an increase in immigration would take a toll on public service and cause an unprecedented calamity that they said the federal government had no plan to deal with. The federal government asked the Supreme Court to reject the state's effort, while also acknowledging that ending the restrictions abruptly would likely lead to disruption and a temporary increase in unlawful border crossings. The Supreme Court's decision comes as thousands of migrants have gathered on the Mexican side of the border, filling shelters and warring advocates who are scrambling to figure out how to care for them. Officials in New York say state and military police have been sent to keep people from driving in snow-choked Buffalo. The Erie County executive said Tuesday that police are being positioned at entrances to the city and at major intersections to enforce a ban on driving. Officials say more than 30 people died in the region. That's in addition to about 24 other deaths the huge storm caused around the country. An emergency services commissioners in the Buffalo area says crews are keeping an eye on warmer weather forecast for later in the week that could bring a threat of flooding as the snow melts. Monster waves, high tides and strong winds battering western Oregon and Washington led to fatal crashes, power outages and flooded homes on Tuesday. Oregon State Police said multiple people died when their car hit a tree on US 26 east of Cannon Beach. Oregon Live reported. In Washington, high tides known as king tides and heavy rains caused water to spill into more than a dozen homes in Seattle's South Park neighborhood. The Seattle Times reported the stormy conditions gripped the Pacific Northwest as other parts of the nation are reeling from a ferocious winter storm that killed dozens. 30-foot, 9-meter waves were expected to break along the entire Oregon coast yesterday, the National Weather Service said, with wave highs possibly topping 40 feet, 12 meters on the north coast. As of yesterday afternoon, Oregon led the country as the state with the highest number of reported power outages, with more than 160,000 customers affected, according to online tracker Power Outages. Along Oregon's north coast, winds hit 80 mph, 130 per hour in the Portland metro area, wind gust of 60 mph, 97 kph, down power lines and fell trees, including near the Portland Art Museum downtown. Coastal flooding and high wind advisories were also in effect for much of western Washington state. Back to home country Oman, rainfall continues on the northern governorates of the Sultanate of Oman due to the effects of upper air trough. Wilayas of the governorates of Musandam, Buraymi, South al-Batina, North al-Batina, Muscat and al-Dhahira witnessed rains with varied intensity which caused wadis and tributaries to overflow. Again, a number of wilayats of Musandam Governorate witnessed moderate to heavy rains which caused tributaries to overflow. Here are some scenes on rainfall on the wilaya of Khasa. And on other Oman news, Major General Hamid bin Ahmed Sakroon, the chairman of the Academy for Strategic and Defense Studies, received at his office in Muaskar Beit al Falaj a delegation from the Ministry of National Guard from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, headed by Major General Ghazi Sanat al-Utaibi. During the visit, both parties discussed matters of mutual concern, including matters on joint training programs. The delegation was briefed on the role of the Center for Strategic and Defense Studies and the academic and training facilities available in the center. Rear Admiral Ali bin Abdullah Shidi, commandant of the National Defense College, discussed during his reception to the Saudi delegation matters of mutual concern. Members of the Saudi delegation was briefed on the role of the National Defense College and various educational and training facilities and aids. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and before we end this news bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq receives a written message from His Excellency President of the Islamic Republic of Iran on the aspects relating to existing cooperation between the two countries. Salala Club secures His Majesty the Sultan's Cup for Youth for the year 2021. An agreement is signed to develop a petrochemical complex in the Special Economic Zone at Duqm Sizat. And rains of varied intensity continue to affect a number of governorates in the Sultanate of Oman. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman. Do stay safe and remember to watch the wadis and weather bulletin so that you can stay safe together with your family. Good night.